Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. I hope that you're all having a fantastic one today. It is 9:30 exactly on a Sunday morning. Finished working out, did all the dishes, all the chores, all the quick things, and now it's time to sit down and listen to some music. Today we're listening to a little bit of low, getting on the down low with a little bit of Quorum is the track we're going to listen to off of their 2018 album, Double Negative, which I imagine just means a positive. Like I said, released in 2018. We're listening to this track because it was recommended and sponsored by Jerk Floor. Thank you so much for the recommendation. I appreciate the support on the channel. I really appreciate that. We've, of course, listened to some low, and it's time to get back to low. Now, this track, fortunately, Eric Floor was generous enough to give us a definition of quorum, is the minimum number of members for an assembly to be able to officially decide something, like a majority, basically. It's kind of what I'm getting. A quorum in the forum. Let's go ahead and listen to the track. We'll, of course, discuss it a little bit after. Here we go. It's like when I plug in my headphones. It's like a heartbeat, almost. Pulses. What an interesting sound. It's painful to stop. It's painful to stop. Okay. I had to listen to another track after listening to Quorum because it's so experimental in its, I don't even exactly know the words to use, but its use of feedback and distortion. And it kind of sounds like, I don't know if you guys will hear it, and maybe it's not even the best thing to do, but like if I take my headphones in and out, no, you guys can't hear that. Like, you know, like you get that, like that kind of staticky feedback sound where you can actually hear like the electric signals kind of crossing over. And it's like, all right. I was going to say don't laugh at me, but it's okay to laugh at me. Do you remember in The Matrix, one of the first scenes when they're doing their whole telephone teleportation thing? And like, I think Trinity picks up the telephone and she's about to go through the telephone and it does the whole, that first time that it goes like, it shows the going through the wires and all the green code and like going through all that and everything. Quorum is kind of like we are in that specific transition and the band decides to make a song inside of that. It's like this, the band decides to make a song in between the real world and in the Matrix, and in that electronic, buzzy, feedbacky, distorted journey between the two worlds, the band decides let's make a song inside of here. And what we get is like, it's so interesting because on one hand, and that's why I had to listen to another song, because it works very well as an intro. It works incredibly well at establishing a certain sound that you're going to apparently have more than likely throughout the rest of this album, at least covering the first two tracks and a snippet of the third. Like, you definitely are just drenched in this electronic mire, this feedback deluge. And as much as you're drenched in it and oversaturated with it, it's incredibly pleasurable and dreamy, and to an extent kind of psychedelic in its own buzzy kind of way, which I think is just a really great and, to me, unique sound that the band has. We've covered a decent bit of Low in a lot of their different tracks and songs, and this definitely like leans even further into that kind of, I don't know, minimalistic electronic aspect, I would say, perhaps further than any other tracks that we've encountered. This one's leaning a little bit more towards the experimental, and yet they still bring it together in this really wonderful way. The two tracks together, the sound of it really reminded me of 100th Window from Massive Attack, of which we just covered a song a few weeks back. And that album from Massive Attack, I've always said, has an incredibly unique atmosphere that I don't think I've ever heard quite replicated or any ground tread in that same way from any other band. Not this way that Massive Attack did on that album specifically. And this is kind of giving me close to that sound. Like they play in this kind of liminal space that I think is just really, really fantastic. And Quorum is kind of that experimental opening, right? Especially with the production techniques, that kind of pulse coming in and out, the music fading in and out, the vocals coming in and out. And on one hand, it's kind of weird because, can I tell you, on one hand, it's a very audibly pleasurable listen to hear. That kind of tactile feedback that they're giving us. But on the other hand, it's not an easy listen at the same time. It's not smooth. It's not, just accessible in a certain way. And yet it is. Like, that's why I really had to listen to another song to see how they built off of that. And they built off of it wonderfully. They kind of kept that same pulse, that same rhythm and momentum from Quorum and moved that into Dancing and Blood, except they just kind of gave it a little bit more of an actual drum sound there, while still miring in all that feedback and that marshy sound and texture that they have. That one, things are a lot more clearer than the coming in and out, a little bit more accessible in that way, but still keeping to that same theme as before. That I thought that was just really cool. And the guitar in Dancing in Blood, I really like how the guitar is also saturated with that effect, but it's done so in a way that, like, you hear the notes, of course, from the guitar, but there's an after effect that comes in afterwards, and it just kind of sweeps it back in to that specific fold. I thought that was just really, really cool. A very, very interesting sound that they have here, at least on these two tracks, perhaps more than likely the rest of the album as well. Quorum's not the reason. With selfish interest, you've got to play it like a chord. This time it's all provoke. In torn and vacant stares, they try to blame it on the cold. Like I'm only this way because of the cold. No, you're this way because you are. I'm tired of seeing things. You put away the book. What are you waiting for? I'm not above the law. I can only go so far. It started out as nothing, and then they'll wait a while. So nice to meet you, man. I couldn't help but notice. Like, quorum's not the reason with selfish interest. You got to play like a chord. Like, that's not the reason why we're here. It's not because of the majority, like the least amount of people, as we mentioned in the definition, the least amount of people to start some sort of meeting or to come to an agreement. That's not the reason. What are you waiting for? I'm not above the law. I feel, man, I feel like it's very personal, but they're kind of being a little cryptic in it. Here you go. It's one of the 3 singles from the album. The song marks a lurch forward into the electronic distortion that was commonplace. The vocals rise and falls. We heard it all. We know. We already know the definition. Connections can be drawn to business organizations, religious groups, and particularly politics. The U.S. must have a quorum of 51 members present in order to do business, which would be a majority. A quorum could also consist of a meeting with the devil and or relationship with a parent. The rise and disappearing vocals are representative of failure of communication, and the double negative pertaining to a current political climate. And within Alzheimer's disease, the devil is acknowledged in the last verse. Really? I don't know. I thought it was just a guy. I can see all of it, though. I think it's so cryptic that you could really apply that to so many things. And I'm sure the band have a specific focus, but who could we say it is? What could I say? Taken aback, all that you gave wasn't enough. What could I say? Taken aback, all that you gave? Chasing a lie. Tear in the court, pierced in the side. Keep in the know, throw in the earth, dancing in blood. All that you gave wasn't enough. I mean, the piercing the side, reference to Jesus, I would imagine. And whoever they're talking about, all that they gave, it wasn't enough. All this blood. Dancing as well, an active. Like, when I think of dancing, you're giving something and it's physically exhausting. In this capacity, you're giving something, perhaps entertainment. Giving blood is giving a part of your life. So, giving your energy, giving your life, and still it wasn't enough. That's how I read Dancing in Blood. I thought that was fantastic. That was a really great listen. I enjoyed that a lot. Yerker Floor, thank you so much for the recommendation. Thank you so much for the suggestion and the support. Let me know what you guys thought of it in the comments down below. Come back tomorrow. Please enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you all later. Bye, guys.